Alright, so today we're going to talk about punching rivets out of your ceiling and wall panels inside your bus. And a lot of people do it using a grinder or a drill or other hand tools, but that takes a lot of work and a lot of time. I have a different way that I've been doing them using air tools. If you get the inexpensive air chisel from Harbor Freight and get a set of their bits, you can actually turn these into some really good tools for removing rivets. The way they come, they're heat tempered steel, but they don't have much of a blade on them. This point is too big to punch the mandrel out of a rivet, and this blade is too dull to get up underneath it and pull it out. So what we're going to do is sharpen these first. After you sharpen them, you have to heat temper them again, or else they're really soft, so I'll show that part too. And then finally we'll go in and knock some rivets out. So what I have here is a pneumatic 4-inch grinder, which I'll use to put a good sharp point on this and a good sharp blade on this. So let's go ahead and get started. Now you should be wearing safety goggles. You see I have mine. You should probably have gloves too, which I don't have. So we'll start with this one. As the disc on the grinder spins, you just want to drag this and kind of rotate it as you go along the edge, and slowly it'll remove material and bring it down to a point. Alright, if you're using your bus for air like I am, you'll probably have to take a break and let it fill your tank back up. But you see, I've got quite a bit of material taken off so far. One more session like that should get it down to a good point. And we'll edit this part out. Alright, we're back up to air pressure. Now, as you're grinding this thing, it does get a little warm, but I ran out of air before it could get hot. So we're still good just using hands. And we'll go ahead and start grinding some more. Just tweak a little bit. Alright, now there's a much more fine point on that, which should be able to get into those mandrels. So we'll go ahead and start the second piece. And this one, you want a sharp edge on one side of it, and the other side you want a little more of a curve. So we'll go ahead and put the sharp edge on first. Show you kind of what that looks like. You can see there's a pretty good point on that end. How's our hair? We don't need to cut too much off of the round side, so we'll go ahead and do that even though we're a little low on air. I don't know how well you can see that, but it's pretty sharp on one side, a little round on the other side. So now that we've ground on them, these are really soft. If you were to try and use these right now, it would just gouge it instantly. So the next step is going to be to re-temper these. We're going to use a campfire, so we'll be right back from that. Alright, so here we have our campfire. I've got the two freshly ground chisel bits, and our fire right now, I use my infrared thermometer. Currently underneath the fire in the coals, we're reading between 500 and 700 degrees Fahrenheit, which is plenty for this. So I'm just going to drop these right into the hot coals underneath the main part of the fire. They're going to get pretty hot pretty quick, but we're going to leave them in there for about 10 minutes. So I'm just going to make sure this is nice and flat where it can absorb all of that heat. And then we'll come back in about 10 minutes. Alright, so usually we've had a fire going for a while before we start doing this, and we've got a good hot bed of coals. Today I built the fire just for doing this, so we didn't have that. So what I did was I moved the metal into a hotter part of the fire where it's getting more heat directly on it. And if you look at it, you can see the metal is turning blue, which happens when it gets really hot. The thermometer pointed at it says it's somewhere around 500 degrees right now, which should be plenty to temper this steel. So what I've got is a gallon jug filled with water, just cold tap water that I put in here. And the process is pretty simple. You use something other than your hand to pick up the hot metal, and you drop it into the jug. So we'll start with the pointy end. And just drop it on in. And when that hits the water, it instantly starts to bubble. And it looks like it even made a little hole in the bottom of the jug when it hit it. So we're gonna have to do the second one right away or else we'll run out of water. So that water didn't change temperature too much. So we'll just go ahead and drop this one in too. And this one's got a really nice blue on top now. And right in the hole. And we just let it go for a few seconds, and that pulls the temperature out really, really quickly. and that heat tempers the steel. And we'll be back in a minute. Alright, now I've got my air chisel, and we're going to do a couple of these rivets up here. These are just the normal rivets you'd find in any Bluebird, or if you've got a Thomas that uses rivets, or a Crown or whatever. They should be basically the same for any of the interior rivets. They always have the little mandrel in the middle, the little dimple that you can see. So you never want to have your chisel hooked up to air when you're changing the bit. Let's knock that off and put in our new sharpened and tempered punch. And twist that back down. I'm only going to do a few because we went ahead and shut the bus off, so we're not running our compressor while we do this. Alright, and basically what you do is you put the tip of the punch on the mandrel, and you just pull the trigger for a second. And now the mandrel's gone. And go ahead and line up the next one. And it's gone. And line up the next one. And it's gone. If you're doing this with a drill, you're going to spend 30 seconds or a minute on each one of these just for this piece. And it's gone. And it's gone. So we do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 while talking about it in just a few seconds. So we're going to go ahead and swap out to the chisel bit. And you pay attention to which side has your curve on it, and that's the side that you want up against the metal. So if you can see, you've got a flat blade here and a little bit of curve on this side. So this part will go against the metal, and that helps keep from damaging the metal skin as you're popping the rivets out. So you just push it right up against the rivet there, and it's gone. And it's gone. That one's gone. And one more. And that took out 5 rivets. So that is definitely the easiest way to get that done. And as you can see, even with a little bit of slippage there, there's no real damage to the metal. So if anybody has any questions, put it in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe.